Hello, my people. It's me, Evan Grant, your friendly Rangers insider for the Dallas Morning News and dallasnews.com. How is everybody? Rhetorical question because you can't answer. But I hope you're doing good. The Rangers are doing okay, 7-5 through their first 12 games. And we're going to talk about several things here. We're going to talk about the impact of Corey Seager's absence. We're going to talk about the upcoming series with the Astros and how that will be a test for them. We'll talk about closer. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about that. We'll get to the outfield defense, and I'm going to give you a stat on the rotation that should maybe make you a happy person. I don't know. It's not my job to make you happy. Hopefully you're all happy. And of course, we'll get to something that I ate that was really delicious this week. So let's get started. Listen, there is also the opportunity right now, if you want to subscribe to dallasnews.com for $1 for the first 3 months. That would get you through the trade deadline coverage of Rangers on our website. The link will be available either here or at the bottom of the YouTube channel, depending on how our producer, director, Demetrio Teniente wants to handle it, because he's the expert on that stuff. I am just a talent. I'm here for my looks, people. All right, so let's get started on that note after you've stopped laughing. Corey Seager out. He's going to be out a month with at least a month, I would say, with this hamstring injury. It's considered a grade 2 or moderate strain. For me, the most concerning part about this is that it's the second time he strained really the same area on his hamstring. Did it in 2019, and you know, the more often you injure that hamstring, the more scarring you get in there, and it just leads to more problems, more mobility and flexibility problems. But I think that's more down the road. But with a guy who's got a 10-year contract, clearly you're also thinking down the road. So how do the Rangers replace him? Well, the easy answer is this: they do not. You're not going to replace the best hitter in your lineup, guy who hit 33 home runs last year and who's off to a really, really hot start. What do? You try and get a little bit creative. You're going to have some other guys pick up the slack, maybe step up production a little bit. But I think you're also going to have to change your offense just a little bit, because there's not going to be a number 2 hitter in a lineup who's going to be able to do what Seager can do. He's got a really good eye at the plate, so he's an on-base guy. He's a great hitter, and he's got power. The Rangers went with Josh Smith, who's going to replace Seager at shortstop in the first game without Seager on Wednesday against Kansas City. And I think it's a fine option, and certainly something you want to explore. Smith has really good on-base abilities, although a lot of them have to do with getting hit. I think he's been hit 4 times. I think he's leading the American League in hit by pitches early in the season, and he does have a penchant for getting in the way of the ball, which gives you a little bit concerned about his durability. But Smith, and to his credit, he said on Wednesday that he's not Corey Seager, and he's not going to try to be Corey Seager. What he is a contact guy and an on-base guy, and it may mean the Rangers, if they go with him in the number 2 spot a little bit more, they're going to have to do a little bit more creation. Their offenses, their run production is probably going to come down a little bit, and it means optimizing whatever run scoring opportunities you get, which may mean, please, metrics people, please don't fill up my inbox with hate mail, but it may mean occasionally playing for 1 run, and to make sure that you get a run out of an inning, even if you're essentially surrendering the opportunity to create a bigger inning. But they've got to optimize whatever opportunities they have. And they certainly, with their starting rotation, have the ability to get by, or should have the ability to get by, with a little bit less offense. That if they do need to play for a run here or there, Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, last night aside, Martin Perez, John Gray, job Andrew Heaney did the other night, those guys should keep them in ball games. So we shall see exactly how the Rangers approach this. The other options at the number 2 spot, you could move Nathaniel Lowe, who is probably the second best hitter in this lineup, up from 3 to 2. But then you're also going to have to drag some other guys up. You're going to put Adolis Garcia in the number 3 spot. Are you going to move Josh Young into the cleanup spot? You're moving a lot of guys up if you do that. That's why trying the idea of Josh Smith in the second spot disturbs the least number of people possible, and potentially, you focus more on getting the number 2 guy on base, and the 3, 4, 5 guys hopefully have the ability to drive them in. I think it also, goes without saying that Marcus Semien is not off to the start he'd hoped. He's batting .212 going into the Houston series on Friday with a .226 on base percentage, 11 strikeouts to just 1 walk. And as the leadoff guy, he's just going to have to get on base more. And with Seager out, he's going to have to get on base more. They're going to have to put more pressure from the top of the lineup up there. What I can say is this. Semien offensively has traditionally been a slow starter. April has been a very slow month for him. We saw it last year. I think there were some extenuating circumstances. I thought there were some conditions this year that made for the possibility of a quicker start. And we saw a little bit of that in the first week, but it's quickly kind of gone back to the traditional numbers. I think this is a guy that once he gets 100 at bats in, he starts to find his rhythm. He has to tinker, experiment, work with his timing a little bit, and he knows his swing. And so he's not a guy that's going to go to guys and ask for, hey, fix me, which is, for me, in a lot of ways, it's a good thing. I want hitters to know their swings. I want hitters to know how to fix themselves. I think certainly from a fan's perspective, you want that guy to be able to be fixed as quickly as possible. And I don't know that we've got a metric for how quickly a hitting instructor can fix a guy versus how quickly a guy can fix a guy. So that's going to have to play out a little bit. You could, if Semien got hot, he's certainly got the power where maybe you move a more on base guy like Smith into the leadoff spot, or even a straight speed guy like Leody Taveras or Bubba Thompson, though their on base abilities are a little bit more in question, and slide Semien into the number 2 spot. I think that's something worth considering, but I think to get there, he's got to get he's first got to start getting a little bit hotter at the plate. That's the number one thing. We haven't talked a whole lot about Corey Seager being absent in the field, and listen, I think Corey has shown some really athletic plays at shortstop. I don't think range or defense is his number one strength at the position, and I do think the Rangers are going to be okay with Josh Smith there. Ezekiel Duran will also get some time at shortstop, though it'll be more infrequent. He's never played an inning of shortstop in the major leagues. He did look okay there this spring. It'll be interesting to see if Ezekiel Duran can play there. I still one play that stands out from spring is he went deep into the hole and fired from shortstop to first, and it was an absolute laser beam of a strike. So I don't doubt that he has the arm or the ability to play the position. It's still, it's a footwork position. It is a range position, and some of that's just going to have to be played out before you get a real solid answer. The scary part of all this is that, over the course of the winter, the Rangers let Eli White go, who was really more of an outfielder at this point, but had a lot of background at shortstop, and let Mark Mathias go, who was more of an infielder, second base, third baseman, but had some experience at shortstop as well. And they just don't have in the minor leagues right now an option that's got some major league experience who you could feel like if you needed to turn the position over to, if Smith got hurt and you were stuck with Duran as your only option, in Jonathan Ornelas and Luis Angel Acuna, I just don't know that the Rangers have guys who are ready for the big leagues. I think shortstop's a really deep position for the Rangers in the farm system, but I think at the upper levels, the guys haven't really pushed all the way up. Ornelas has about 40 at bats maybe at AAA, and that's it. Acuna has about 150 at bats at AA, and that's it. So the Rangers have to navigate this a little bit, and if by some chance they get another injury in the middle infield, they may have to go out and find somebody on the waiver wire or pluck somebody off of somebody's AAA roster to help them out. All right. This weekend, big series. Rangers go to Houston. It's been an absolute nightmare the last 6 years. Little number crunching I did this morning. The Rangers are, since 2017, since the decline and fall of the Ranger Empire, those that 6-year period where they won 4 American League West titles, the Rangers are 35-70 against Houston. 35-70. And if you want to go the last 2 years, it's been even worse. 10-28. It's not been a matchup. It's been a landslide. And I think for this team that feels like it is better and expects to compete, going to Houston and playing your first set of games against an American League West opponent is a great measuring stick. I know the Rangers are going to say, they're without, or I think Ranger fans, not the Rangers. I think Ranger fans would say, hey, this team is without Corey Seager and is without Mitch Garver right now as it goes down there. The Astros contingent would counter with, hello, Jose Altuve. So it doesn't matter who's out of the lineup. What matters is going down there and playing well. And I think in talking to Rangers players, what really stands out is maybe here more than other areas, the remake of the starting rotation. You get matchups that are legitimate all weekend long. You don't have Justin Verlander against Mike Fulton-Nevich. You don't have, what do you want to say? Framber Valdez against Colby Allard. You have, Jacob deGrom pitched on Tuesday. He won't pitch in the Houston series because the Rangers will stay in a 5-man rotation after the off day. So you will get in Houston, you are going to get Martin Perez, John Gray, and Andrew Heaney. The Rangers 3, 4, and 5 pitchers. But as somebody in the clubhouse said to me on Tuesday ahead of deGrom start, hey, our number 5 guy just went out and had 9 consecutive strikeouts, and tonight we're sending our ace to the mound. That's a good feeling. It's a different vibe in that clubhouse in terms of the confidence level that this club has in its pitching. And I think that everything right now on the offensive side is about optimizing offensive abilities. And I think the Rangers will be able to better optimize the offense because there won't be a whole lot of pressure on them to say, we've got to outscore opponents. If anything, right now, I think the little bit of the pressure goes to that rotation to carry big load. They're going to have to hold teams to fewer runs than maybe even normal to continue to have a chance at success in the time that Seager's out. Listen, I asked Nate Lowe, and I'm going to write about this for Friday's paper, but I asked Nate Lowe about particular nightmares in Houston. If he had one memory that stood out over the last 2 years, because he and Jonah Heim are really the only 2 guys who have been here for the last 2 years and experienced it all. And it was probably best not to get Nate started because he just started rattling off one game after another. And I'll go through those a little bit in my column, but let's just go back to the last game the Rangers played in Houston, which was last September 7th. A game they led 3-0. And that they lost, and they ended up losing in the 10th inning on a wild pitch. a walk-off wild pitch. It's the second walk-off wild pitch that the Rangers have had in Houston in the last 3 years. So, it has been a nightmare for them. If the Rangers go down there and win a series, I think it's another significant building block in where this team is going. All right, I got to flip my little notebook back here. This is our script. Again, people, the production values here are through the roof. Area of concern? Well, I've got two for you. Let's start with closer. Bruce Bochy's made it very clear he doesn't have really hard defined rules. Jose Leclerc is the kind of sort of closer, or at least was, until he had a rough night against Kansas City on Tuesday night, exacerbated by a walk after a leadoff hit. I don't know where the Rangers go. I think that the long-term feel is that of the guys out there, Jonathan Hernandez has the best stuff and maybe the best closing mindset. He also has the least experience of the guys who would be in the picture. And so I think there's going to be some degree of feeling out for when do you feel comfortable turning things over to Hernandez with the idea that the ups and downs will be reduced, because I do think that he's going to continue to experience some ups and downs in these leverage situations until he gets a little bit more experience under his belt. If you do that, if you throw him out there in the ninth inning and he does have one of those inconsistent days, well, you don't have really a weapon to bring in behind him. Right now, if you're using him in the seventh or eighth, the other night, he wasn't all that effective against Kansas City as well. I believe in the seventh, you've got guys you can bring in to kind of mop that up. So that's something I think the Rangers are going to navigate. And listen, I can't quantify this, but certainly I think bullpen management was not, it's usually not the strength of first-time managers, and I think we saw that over the last couple of years with both Jeff Bannister and Chris Woodward. They were also hampered by the fact that they had weak bullpens. Listen, one of these Astros games that I just talked about, in the 10th inning, the Rangers went to DeMarcus Evans, and he gave up a walk-off grand slam. So their options have been limited. I think they have better options in the bullpen right now, and I think they've got better options at the minor leagues if they suffer an injury down there or if they feel like somebody's not performing. I've heard that Joe Barlow's velocity is back up to where the Rangers want it. Danny Duffy is making progress. He's not pitching in minor league games yet, but he's making progress from his injury. There are some other arms there that are impressive. So just think they're in better shape at the back end of the bullpen, but I do think it's going to take a little bit of time for everything to sort out. And the fortunate thing for the Rangers is the other night when Leclerc blew a save, they came back. He held the inning from getting big. Rangers came back and won the game with two big 2-out hits from Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim's walk-off 3-run home run. And I also think in the middle of that, the fact that Josh Young took a 9-pitch walk, really, I thought really veteran, impressive at bat with the game on the line, was another positive sign as to who Josh Young is at the plate. So I'd keep an eye on closer. The other thing that stands out to me as a little bit concerning is the outfield defense. Certainly the Rangers had gone for the first 11 games without their preferred outfield because Leody Taveras was on the injured list. What they opted for was they thought for offense, and that meant Robbie Grossman. But to do all of that, it meant moving Adolis Garcia from right to center, putting Josh Smith or Ezekiel Duran in left, because those guys outfield wise are limited to left field, and then moving Grossman over to right. So you had neophyte outfielder and then two guys playing out of positions. And I think it showed up in Chicago. It showed up the second game of the season in Arlington when Grossman had problems with balls in the sun in right field. It showed up in both of the game in the last two games, I think, against Kansas City, with some problematic balls in the outfield. And so I think that, Leote is active now. It gives you a chance with Josh Smith and Zeke Duran having to be moved into the infield. It gives you a chance to line up with Garcia in right, where he is most comfortable and where he's an asset, and it doesn't take as much of a toll on his body as center field does. Tavares, who is a natural center fielder. And then in left, you have the ability to go with Grossman early in games to try and get some offense, and then go to Bubba Thompson late for defensive range. If at the end of the game, if you're trying to chase down runs, chase down fly balls, or make sure that nobody's doubling, and you've got Thompson, Tavares, and Garcia aligned in the outfield, you're in pretty good shape defensively. So if I were the Rangers right now, I think I'd be looking to try and make left field whole from two guys over the course of the game. Grossman for early offense, and then late in games, I'd want Thompson for run reduction. Should point out that just to back this up, through 12 games, the Rangers are -3 in defensive runs saved, according to Fangraphs. Make of defensive run saves what you will. It's just it's an index, and I think in general it says which teams are doing really well and which teams are doing really poorly. The fact that the Rangers are 23rd at -3, I don't think means that they're significantly worse than the number 15 team. I do think it means they've been in the lower tier, just outfield defense wise, and I think everybody's eyes kind of tell them that as well. So there we go on that. And now to the rotation. Listen, in back-to-back games against Kansas City, you had, albeit, look, some records that Nolan Ryan holds here are a little bit obscure, but he did hold the club record for most consecutive strikeouts, which Andrew Heaney broke on Monday night with 9 consecutive strikeouts. On Tuesday night, Jacob deGrom piled up 9 strikeouts, also giving him 27 through his first 3 Ranger starts, which was one more than Ryan had through his first 3 Ranger starts, which was the most by any pitcher in club history. So back-to-back nights where the rotation broke a Ryan record. Though there's not a plaque that hangs anywhere in the ballpark that says Nolan Ryan struck out 26 guys in the first 3 games of his career, and also makes a darn good hot dog. Neither of those exist, so there probably is some advertising for Nolan's hot dogs in the ballpark. But what stands out to me again about this rotation is its ability to navigate itself out of trouble with the ability to pile up strikeouts. We have seen it time and time again, and what stands out to me, it's a stat I cited over the winter as they started signing guys, and it's a stat I will refer to on a number of occasions this year: strikeouts to walks. Okay, so the Rangers' strikeout to walk rate from the starting rotation is 4.76. It's 4th best in the American League, in all of baseball. 4th best in baseball. This is not something you can say about Rangers rotations of the past. When they did have strikeout guys, when they had Bobby Witt, on the staff with Nolan Ryan, he was a high walk guy. And so there were, and Nolan was a fairly high walk guy for much of his career. So you had guys who put guys on base. They had the ability to shut down those innings, but they also had a lot of traffic on the bases. the last 10 years, this has not been a strikeout staff. They just haven't gotten strikeouts. And because of it, they're relying on other guys to clean up their messes. They were among the worst in terms of walks per 9 innings, and they were among the lowest in strikeouts per 9 innings. They've turned it on its head at 4.76 strikeouts per walk. You get into a situation with traffic on the base paths, you've got an ability to end that threat all on your own. This is what the Rangers signed up for with this rotation, and quite frankly, I think that over the first 12 games, it's held up very, very well. There have been some uneven results, but I think with these guys, if you're getting the number of strikeouts to the number of walks that they have been getting, that's consistent with what those guys put up last year, over the course of the year, you're going to have really good results from that rotation. So that's the baseball report for today. Now to food. Why am I yelling at you about food? I like to yell about food. But so went to Chicago for the first road trip of the year. Did I have pizza? Did I have a Chicago dog? No, I did not. Neither. I'm not a big deep dish pizza guy. Though the Rangers had some deep dish pizza in the clubhouse on Sunday for their post-game snack for players, and it made me a little bit. It looked good. I'm not gonna lie. But no, I didn't have pizza in Chicago. The night that I was going to try and have pizza, I was going to go to my favorite, which is Lou Malnati's, and that was closed for Easter, the location that I went to, which I thought was very rude personally. I did have Asian food at a place up there that I've long loved called the Big Bowl. Make good spicy kung pao. But meal of the week was at a place that I have wanted to go to for a while called Abba in the Fulton Market District. It is a Mediterranean restaurant. I do not know why in the last year, I don't have words for this, but I've become in love with Mediterranean food. And when I'm talking Mediterranean food, I'm not talking really so much Greek or Italian. I'm talking Middle Eastern food, and this place does a great job of it. It's Israeli, Lebanese, Syrian inspired, Moroccan inspired, and I took a couple of folks from the Rangers traveling party with me, and they weren't big Mediterranean food guys, but they walked away very impressed. What started the meal off was this that you're seeing right now, muhamara, a red pepper dip. It is so good. It's got roasted red peppers, pureed with some chopped up walnuts, tiny bit of garlic, some smoky Aleppo pepper, and pomegranate molasses, which my daughter asked me last night, WTF pomegranate molasses? And I basically had to say it's fancy molasses. But I do know what pomegranate molasses is because I bought some and I've made this pepper dip 3 times. So here is the muhammara we had at Abba. And I know that this maybe it doesn't photograph as well as it tastes, but you put this on a little bit of pita bread, warm pita bread, and they had it seasoned with some Israeli seasoning, some za'atar, which you can pick up at most grocery stores now. Brush your pita bread with a little bit of olive oil, sprinkle the za'atar on, throw it in the oven for a couple minutes. Magnificent. And then dip it in the muhammara. Really, really good. So this is the muhammara I had at Abba, but I was so inspired. I came back home. I made muhammara the first night I got back home from Chicago. And here's that. I don't plate as well as a professional restaurateur. Sometimes I drop the N in there, and there's no N in restaurateur. So This was outstanding. Had a hummus that had some not braised short ribs, some crispy short ribs. So a little bit of it was crisp at the top and the rest of it was very tender like short ribs are. I had a shrimp scampi dish that was made with black garlic, different type of garlic, and some breadcrumbs. It was fantastic. But anyway, I came back home. I made muhammara the first night that I was back home. My wife loved it. I loved it. I thought I did a pretty good job. And then I found 2 more red peppers, bell peppers in the fridge last night. Made some more. So here's what's left. Okay, again, it's not the best photographing food, but here's just a little cracker. This stuff is good. Nutty, a little bit smoky. I put some cayenne in here, heat it up just a little bit. The molasses adds a little bit of sweetness. I found the pomegranate molasses at Central Market. I don't know if it's in all stores, but yeah, you can find it. This stuff is good. I'd love to make you all. I'm thinking about opening a muhammara restaurant. It's easy to make. You roast the peppers. I can put the recipe on the YouTube site. I'll try and do that. It's a great snack. Heck, you could have it for dinner, as I've now started to take the advice of Martin Short's character in Only Murders in the Building, who likes to eat dips for dinner. This dip for dinner with a little bit of bread, just outstanding. Anyway, that's it for this report. Hope you liked the video. Sorry we were videoless the first week of the season. We'll try not to let that happen again, people. There was a lot going on. We'll get to a lot more stuff next week. The City Connects will be revealed early next week. So I'll be here talking about my review of the City Connects and what maybe you guys think, what people might have said on Twitter about it. Have high hopes for these things. I think everybody's got some anticipation. And we'll see where the Rangers stand after the series with Houston. And with a series against the Yankees kind of looming on the horizon. So until then, let's see what the Rangers can do without Corey Seager. And eat your muhammara, make your muhammara, and have a great day. See you, everybody. This is good video.